How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be testing out the tier 90 tank armor, the CRYPTBLOOM armor. I want to see how this goes. I want to see if it's worth using, see if it has any uses in the game, and just basically give you my thoughts after using it for a little while. I did buy this armor out of the money that I had saved up during my Path to Riches series, so we are down by about 1.2 billion GP, which is what I paid for it. The price of this armor is going up, it's going down, it is all over the place at the moment, so I'm not going to give you a specific value on this. I paid 1.2 billion. I know it has slightly changed from where I paid for it, so when you watch this video, if you're interested in buying it, make sure you do a price check on it, because it will change a lot, seeing as it is new items in the game, and the value of stuff will be up and down a hell of a lot. But anyway, the way I'm going to tackle this is I have used the armor quite a bit now already. I've tested it out in quite a few places, and I'm going to go through each individual place that I have tested it and talk about that as a separate thing. This is not all going to be live stuff, because while I originally did plan on just testing this live, giving my thoughts live, and then giving you guys like the way it went while I was all live and just editing that up, I feel like when I was doing that, it needed to be more the way it's going to be now. I needed to give my thoughts on it specifically, explain how I went at bosses, because there's a lot more to it than just, wow, this is great. There's a lot more to it than that, so we'll talk about it. Okay, so first off, what is the new tier 90 tank armor? What is so special about it, and how do you get it? You get it from the new boss, the Kerapac boss, and that will drop the individual pieces in there, and basically it is tier 90 magic tank armor, and it will have a set bonus effect as well. Now, the set bonus effects is basically incoming magic damage is reduced by 12% and incoming melee damage is reduced by 8%. That is if you have 2 pieces on. If you have 3, then you get an extra 6 and an extra 4% respectively. This is probably the biggest part of this armor in my opinion, at least so far, and we'll get into that and you'll be able to see why a little bit later on. But for 4 pieces, you're going to get a effect that upon taking damage, 6% chance to inflict your target with Kerapac death spores. Kerapac death spores will allow you to deal more damage to targets that are not facing you. So basically, if the boss wasn't facing you, you would deal increased damage to them, kind of like how flanking works, except this would be on every single ability. And I assume this would carry over to groups as well. So this could be perfect if you had someone tanking the boss and then everyone else was stood behind the boss. This would be a great effect. But in an instance where you're using solo, then it's probably a little bit of effort to get behind the boss and keep doing it. You can do it with flanking in some places, it'll be the same sort of way, but personally this is not something that I'm that interested in. The set bonus with 5 pieces is when you fall below 20% life points, you gain a shield for 15 seconds. The shield life points scale with your armor rating and defense level, just the way Animate Dead does basically, but this will give you just a shield that will basically absorb damage rather than taking that extra 20% life points that you do have. This is a great failsafe, as soon as you do get low, basically the armor says, no, you are not going to die, you have this shield, and this does have a 2-minute cooldown. It can happen every 2 minutes, but I mean, you probably won't be dropping below that much health every 2 minutes, so that technically is a great thing for a failsafe. But again, I don't really see too much use for it, at least as of yet, but you guys will see why later in the video. Okay, so of course in this video we will be using the armor with the Animate Dead spell. This scales with the armor rating that you have and your defense level, and it will give you a flat damage reduction. It goes based off of the armor you have, and then it will give you a number, and that is the number that will be taken off of every single attack that you take. So this is a great spell, especially if you are someone who is learning. This makes your life so easy because it reduces damage by a lot. This stacks on top of current damage reduction as well. So if you have magic damage reduction, then it will stack with that too. This is added on afterwards, so it works out everything, and then it adds it on top. So this will stack with the extra damage reduction that you get from the armor itself on magic and melee. Also, I forgot to mention that if you do use an earth spell with this armor, it doubles the effect. Now, this isn't something that I've really bothered to test because, I mean, you'll see why, but you can definitely double that. So you can go from having a 16% magic damage reduction to a 32% damage reduction on magic. This is absolutely crazy, and I will mention it and talk about it again later in the video. But for now, let's start on the bosses. Let's talk about how it sort of played out and my thoughts on specific areas, and then we'll talk about it as a whole and all the little bits that we need to. Okay, so the first place that I took this armor to was ED3. Now, you guys know I do a lot of ED3 on Magic, so this is a great place for me to compare how my times were and just basically how the armor performs overall. And I was very surprised here. I was ridiculously surprised here. So I was running through the actual mobs. I saw almost no difference on clearance of the actual, like, the groups and stuff. There's almost no difference. The health of them really isn't that big of a deal, and the damage difference just isn't going to be that noticeable. As for health loss and stuff, with Soul Split in the past, you just never really lost any health anyway, so that wasn't that big of a deal and not really anything to pay attention to. But the first boss was something that I noticed a slight slowdown on time. The damage that you lost was definitely there, but I did still manage to actually kill the boss before it even swapped sides. Now, when I do this boss, that is the goal that I go for. If I can kill this boss before it swaps sides and I have to travel all the way over and then travel all the way back, then that's a good kill, and that'll do for me. This is something that I aim to do with Elite Tectonic as well, and honestly, it was not an issue doing this with the actual tank armor. The difference wasn't enough. It was around about 10 seconds probably, but that's not really anything to concern yourself about. I'm going to assume that for anyone using tank armor here, you are not all that bothered about getting the absolute best kill times, and probably just the same page as me, where as long as it's not too bad and it's not too massively different, then that's probably all that matters. But 10 seconds is absolutely nothing at that point. So for the first boss, this armor performed absolutely fine. That being said, this boss isn't the best place to test it out, seeing as you really don't need to use any food here anyway. Camp soul split the entire kill, do as much damage as you can. You won't take any damage because you'll soul split it all back. It's not the best boss to test out tank armor. But DPS wise, about 10 seconds difference, maybe 5 to 10 seconds on average. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so moving on to Taraket. This is where I first saw this armor shine. This is where I was blown away with how strong this armor is. As you can see, I am only using 3 pieces. I decided that using the gloves and the boots just wasn't worth it, especially in the elite dungeons, because these Cinderbanes work on everything, and Blast Fusion boots are just too good at clearing mobs, and it's just something that I didn't want to let go of, just for that little bit of extra armor. And the 2 effects, the 4th and 5th effect, just really wouldn't have that much use here. But I will say to you guys straight away, Taraket was an absolute joke with this armor. In the past, when I used Tectonic here, I always clear the bloats off. I never ignore them, because even though you can do it, and you have to be pretty good at prayer flicking, I assume, it's not something that I've ever bothered to do, because every time I've tried it, I have just died straight away. I get murdered. It is just not fun to see. I miss 1 prayer flick, 2 prayer flicks, dead. That is just how it has gone. So in the past, all I do is I kill off the first bloat, then I phase Taraket, then I'll kill off the second bloat using the Undead Slayer sigil, which will make it a hell of a lot quicker and nice and fast to do. I can usually get through this in around about 3 minutes and 5 seconds in a solo, sometimes a little bit quicker depending on how crits go and stuff, but about 3 minutes on average is probably what I'd expect to see. Now, with a solo in this armor, I came in and I thought to myself, let's put the armor to a test. I chucked on Soul Split, and I didn't use anything else. I went towards the boss, I started the fight, and I even managed to still skip the portal at the beginning. I did enough damage to get through and skip that, which is fine. I have the Staff of Armadillo, of course, that probably carried me through, but we skipped that, and then I completely ignored the blows. I waited till Taraket came back, and I just focused on him. With Animate dead and this armor, so far I had taken no damage camping Soul Split. As soon as I'd done that, the second bloat came out. I just stuck to my guns, and I did not do anything with that. All I did was kill the portals and attack Taraket. Ignored everything else. Now, with all of those skeletons and the 2 bloats smacking on me, you would think that, Init, this is not going to go well, you're going to get smacked. Look at my health. My health does not drop. I am absolutely fine tanking 2 bloats and tanking the Taraket's magic hits. The issue comes in when Taraket uses range hits. However, you will notice that in the next kill that I did this, I found a solution to this as well. Either way, at the end of the first kill, I managed to break my personal record. Why is this? Because I could just completely ignore mechanics and just focus on killing Taraket, and the damage drop wasn't enough to be able to include the difference in time that I would spend killing the bloats. I had no concerns at all ignoring the bloats, letting them hit me with Animate Dead and this armor on, because they did almost no damage. I could soul split any damage I took back, and they literally had no chance of killing me. The only chance that there was anything to worry about was when Taraket were using the range hits, but like I said, in this kill here that you can see now, I just brought my Essence of Finality rather than using a Salve Amulet, and that allowed me to heal through the range as well, without actually worrying about losing any health. I am absolutely confident in saying that you can no-food this boss camping Soul Split only in this armor with Animate Dead on if you bring an Essence of Finality for the extra Soul Split heals. Now, what I also would suggest you do is use things like Corruption Blast along with Greater Chain and Combust when there are a lot of skeletons around when he is using the range attacks. Save them for them. The reason being is that bleed heal that will spread around to everything, and the Combust that has been targeted to 7 different targets, that will heal you through any range damage you could expect to take. If you are still struggling, chuck out a Debilitate, you'll be absolutely fine. When he changes back to magic, you don't have to worry. Your magic reduction is too high. It is literally, you do not need to worry at all. Make sure you still clear off the portals, but otherwise, Taraket was an absolute joke. On the second kill, I increased my kill time again by using tank armor rather than DPS armor, and it made the fight ridiculously easy. Alright, so moving on to the Ambassador, what did I notice here? Okay, so the kill times at the Ambassador were a little bit slower, but not by a completely ridiculous amount. There was only about 30 seconds difference on average, and the second time there was about a minute, but I completely forgot the entire kill to put my magic prayer on. So that probably would have helped a little bit. Overall though, it made the fight a lot more chill in the way that I didn't actually have to worry about the mage hits too much. Normally I would res every second mage hit, as resonance would be back on cooldown for that, and I could actually get the heal out of that. But if I didn't res those, or if I didn't use any defensives throughout the fight, I would actually sometimes run out of food by the time I get to the end of the fight. This is because I don't use Soul Split Flick here, and I probably should, but at the same time, you don't need to if you're using this armor. I got to the end of the fight and I had more than half of my food left. I had barely touched it, and this was after running around like an idiot inside the smokes and taking off a ridiculous amount of health that I didn't need to lose. However, sometimes these magic hits when he sends them out will actually hit a 0 because you have Animate Dead on and you have that magic resistance from the armor as well. So that's kind of interesting to see. Of course, Ambassador does hit with range the entire time except for those odd magic hits, so this is something to keep in mind. The only thing that's going to help you here is Animate Dead. The armor effects itself aren't going to be doing much except for the fact that you've got higher armor and you have the Animate Dead spell reducing damage too. So it does help out a lot in bringing down your food costs, but otherwise you're not getting any of the massive boost from the percentages from the magic and the melee reduction. That being said, this made the fight a lot more chill, and in all honesty, I will probably use this armor here when I'm on stream because I'm just so much different when I'm playing on stream compared to when I'm playing solo normally off of stream, because it's just the focus aspect and I can just chill out more, I can read chat a little bit more without worrying, and it just makes it a lot more chill and convenient for me. But that being said, there is a difference in DPS here, so if you are just after kill times and making it super quick, then you're going to want to stick to your DPS armor, of course. But at the same time, if you're not that fussed, you're only focused on trying to get 2 kills an hour on the same aura, this is not going to stop you from doing that. So after ED3, the next place that I went to test this armor out was at Raksha. The reason I brought this here was purely just to see the DPS difference, to see the difference in my kill times compared to when I use Tectonic and when I'm using this armor. This is probably the best place to come, purely to test on DPS terms and actually get a feel for how much damage you are losing throughout the entire kill. So this was a really interesting place, and I was surprised again by the results. Now, this isn't going to be the most consistent information given because there's a lot of factors that are included here, and I will of course include those and talk about those, but on an average, you guys may be surprised a little bit. Okay, so you'd expect you come here and if you're in tank armor, you're going to be doing a lot less damage because you don't have your power armor effects, you don't have the extra stats and stuff, and that's probably going to be important at a DPS dummy like Raksha. So what exactly happened with myself? I came here and the first time I attempted this, I got super close to skipping the mage bomb, which is something that I can always do on Tectonic, but I got super close and I was fairly convinced that I could definitely do it had I maybe had a little bit better luck with the RNG on crits, or maybe if I just hadn't made a couple of mistakes that I did at the beginning. From that point onwards, I was skipping the mage bomb almost every single time while using the tank armor, and that is definitely a good goal to be able to aim for when you're DPSing the first phase. Skipping that and phasing before it does the mage bomb is definitely a good DPS target to aim for. However, that being said, of course, luck on crits with the Staff of Armadyl can definitely be what makes or breaks this, but on an average kill, I was getting through this without an issue whatsoever. I was finding that between phase 1 and phase 2, the kill times were slightly slower than normal, but once I was completing the actual kill, there really wasn't enough difference for me to complain about. But I noticed that I didn't actually lose that much time on kills. I was getting around about 4-minute kills to 3:30, and this is a fairly big difference, but as I did the kills more and got into the boss again and sort of picked it up and shook off the rust a little bit, the kills are averaging around about 3:30 to 3:40. Now, this is incredibly good considering I do not have to eat the entire kill because I have this armor on. Now, you can definitely no food Raksha anyway in Tectonic. It is definitely something you can do. You don't have to eat as long as you don't mess up your prayer flicks and stuff. It is absolutely possible to do that. But for anyone who doesn't no food this boss, this armor will let you no food this boss. Because taking some of the hits, especially the melee and the magic hits, you get the damage reduction from the armor set, and you also get the animate dead as well. However, keep in mind I was using 5 pieces here when I was testing the armor. The reason being is the gloves and the boots here aren't that important. I rarely use detonate here anymore, as I do use the Staff of Armadyl as much as I possibly can, and Cinderbanes don't have an effect, so I figured, you know what, rather than having the Kerapac wrist wraps, which is a slight increase in your combust DPS, I figured I would just use the tank armor and just see if it does that much difference. Once I'd got a fairly average kill time with the armor and I could see that about 3:30 to 3:40 was the kill time I was getting, I actually went back and got my Tectonic armor on and went through and did some kills. Now, this is where the RNG and the way you play and a lot of factors that change a lot do come into play. So, as you will see on screen, I actually did get slower kill times with my Tectonic armor. It was very close. It was about the same. I was getting 3-minute 30 to 3-minute 40 kill times. And while I am certain, and absolutely certain, that if you are doing this properly and you are not having all these different RNG factors coming into play where you do things differently, you make a mistake here and there, if you could do a perfect kill inside out every single time and have the exact same crit rate the entire time, you will get faster kills on Tectonic. It's just the way it works. However, the difference is not going to be enough, from what I can tell, to put you off using the armor here. If you are more comfortable using the tank armor here, then just bring it along. I will probably use it here sometimes just because the difference wasn't that big of a deal. And there is a reason why. During the rock fall between phases, I could tank 3 rocks rather than 2, meaning I could get off channeled abilities for longer, putting my DPS up just a little bit. If I could get off one more Armadyl Battle Staff spec in the actual rock fall, rather than having to move and cancel that during the Staff of Armadyl spec, this is a good amount of damage increase purely because I didn't have to move. The armor as a full set allows you to tank more rock falls, and you can just stand there and not worry about it too much. Move after the 3rd rock fall and you'll be absolutely fine. You can put out more damage, and this kind of makes up for the difference from as far as I can tell. It really does. But that being said, you could quite easily get a vitality potion, use that here, and then just DPS down. But then at the same time, you could do that with a magic set and just tank all of the rocks probably. What I'm trying to say is, with Raksha, the times that I was getting was not enough difference for me to be put off from using the armor here. If you are someone who is not fussed about actually getting the kill times done and making sure you are the absolute fastest you can get, then this armor is something you can consider using if you just want to make the kill more chill. If you're learning the boss maybe, and you have the money to spend on the armor and you do use magic here, you can definitely bring this armor along. It will make your life easier, it will make it feel more chilled out, and it's just not that big of a difference. Alright, so let's move on to the boss that I'm probably sure a lot of you guys have been thinking, why haven't you tested this yet? Hard mode Kerapac. I'm going to try and keep this a little bit shorter than the other ones if I can, because I know this video is dragging on a little bit, but basically, I am not the best at hard mode Kerapac. It's a boss that is currently in my sights for something that I want to learn and improve out a lot, as there's a lot of value in the drops that you can get there, especially with the Staff of Armadyl price at the moment. But this made the fight so freaking easy. It made it so damn easy that I will happily come here now without Ring of Death in the future, as long as I'm using this armor. And I will guarantee you that I will use this armor from now on. This will stay on my Kerapac preset for the foreseeable future. The reason being is, unless I personally make a big mistake during the fight, which delays it a hell of a lot, there is almost not that much difference between my kill times. There's probably between 20 to 30 seconds at the most between them, which, to be honest, really isn't that big of a deal for me especially when I'm learning. I am happy to lose that 20 to 30 seconds to make my life a lot better and a lot easier. But at the same time, I feel like once I've got a little bit more practice in this, I could probably swap back to Tectonic eventually. But for now, I will not be using anything other than this armor at Kerapac. With the extra magic reduction that you can do here, it is insane. The amount of damage that he deals to you is so low. And because Kerapac only uses magic damage, through the entire first 3 phases, you can literally no-food this without any issues whatsoever. If you soul split flick, even better. You can even tank the freaking lightning things if you use debilitate and reflect. You don't even have to surge through them, and then you can soul split back up. But if you do deal with them properly, barricade on the 3rd phase and surge through the other ones, then you'll be absolutely fine no fooding phase 1, 2, and 3 without using soul split flick, because you just don't need it. You won't take any damage almost whatsoever. That being said, on phase 4 you will still need to use defenses. As far as I can tell, the armor is not that good enough to the point where you will not take any damage. However, if you wanted to sacrifice your kill time even more, you could swap your main hand spell to Earth Barrage, which would double the magic effect that you're going to get reduced, and you will take a lot less damage. You can see on screen now me using the Earth Barrage spell and using the armor here at Kerapac. You can see the difference that he's hitting me with. It is ridiculous. So that would make phase 4 a lot easier as well. However, there's some things that are really important to note. On phase 4, you only need to use Reflect, and most of the magic hits will hit you for 0. Until his Enrage has gone up from killing all 3 of the actual summons, 9 out of 10 of the hits that you take with Reflect on using this armor will be reduced to 0 damage. This means you don't need to use Debilitate at the same time, but also you can use these as separate defensives to actually get yourself through the kill. Normally you would stack Reflect and Debilitate, but with this armor you can just use Debilitate and your damage is reduced enough already that you're absolutely fine. Personally, I think this armor is absolutely great here, and especially for people who are learning to do the boss, I feel like it is going to be something that is super valuable for getting you through and actually letting you learn the mechanics without making it too punishing. This armor basically makes bosses way less punishing. Kerapac is definitely a super good use for it, and I feel like I will definitely use it here in the future. Alright, so that's all the bosses that I wanted to cover in this video, as I don't normally do bosses like AOD or so, like that sort of stuff as of yet. So for anyone in the comments that does those bosses, you'll have to let me know if this is useful there. The effect maybe with the groups being able to actually have 6 people, if you're in a 7-man AOD team, do the damage behind the boss for 15 seconds with the extra 10% damage. Does that outweigh the cost of actually using the tank, wearing the tank armor or not? You'll have to let me know. But personally, I think this armor is absolutely brilliant in certain situations, but I do think the actual use of it will come down to personal preference. I personally didn't see any reason to use the 5 pieces or the 4 pieces outside of somewhere like Raksha. You could use it at Raksha, but even then, I'd probably still take things like Blast Diffusion Boots and the Celestial Hand Wraps. There's no need really for the extra defense. You could use the 5 pieces like I did in some of the examples, like I did, to tank the rocks a little bit more with the extra armor that you do get once you drop below 20%. But other than that, I actually think the loss of not having your Cinderbane gloves, for example, is just way too much to outweigh just getting a little bit extra armor, and in a solo, you don't need that extra passive as well. I think this will be a personal preference. I don't think there is any reason that you shouldn't use this if you feel like it's going to make your life better, if you're going to enjoy the game a bit more, if it's going to be more chill and better for you. I will probably use this on stream. I will probably use this when I'm doing places like Ambassador, or I will definitely use it for Taraket 100%. It just seems, why wouldn't I use it for Taraket? It absolutely destroys there. I'll likely bring it out for Raksha at time to time, and I will 100% be using it at Kerapac, because while I'm learning that boss especially, it's going to be nice to not have to worry too much about food and stuff. However, for the people who absolutely just want the most DPS they can possibly get, the people who value the fastest kill times they can get, and they don't want to lose any time whatsoever, your DPS armor is still where you want to be, obviously. That is DPS armor. That is going to get you faster kills. And honestly, you people that are just focusing on kill times and stuff, you probably don't actually need to worry about eating food and whether it's easy or difficult for you anyway, because you're probably in a position where you don't need, that's just not a concern. You can get through the kills stupidly fast. You can get through without hardly any food. You're in a position where you don't need to worry about tank armor anyway. But for the people who are learning bosses, this could be absolutely great. For the people who just want to take bosses a bit more chill, aren't worried about 10, 20 or 30 second difference in times in certain places, then you could definitely bring this along. I could still 2-cycle Seryu. I could still get through Ambassador in about just 20 to 30 seconds slower, and personally to me that is not a problem, and it's something that I would be more than happy to do, seeing as I have no chance of dying pretty much, and it means when I'm streaming I can talk to you guys in chat a hell of a lot more. So I mean, like I say, it is not going to ruin your kills to the point where you're going to be there twice as long, so you can still do 2 runs an hour at 83 if that's what you're already doing, and I highly doubt it's going to make much difference for the average player. Keep in mind that this is all based on my opinion on how I play the game, the way that I'm a PVMer, the things that I focus on and the things that matter to me so much. Like I say, I am not fussed about kill times, so I think this armor is actually really good. I love it. I am not sad about buying this for 1.2 mil whatsoever. There may eventually be some more uses for the actual 5th and 4th set effect for this, being if there's another group boss come out and we could maybe use a tank. That could be a thing, but we'll have to see what Jagex do about that. I'm not sure about the actual other stuff like AOD or Solak. Someone will have to let me know in the comments. Otherwise, guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope it made you realize whether you want to buy this or not, whether you want to even just get it just to mess around in it and see how it works. Like I say, the prices are all over the place, so make sure you price check before you buy this. The armor is augmentable. I probably should have mentioned that a little bit earlier. You can put perks in. I did say that I put perks at the beginning, actually, so that's fine. Otherwise, guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much to the channel members for your extra support. Your names will be on screen as always. I really appreciate that. Anyone else who wants to join the channel members in supporting the channel, but also getting some perks for yourself, click the join button that's by the subscribe button, and then you can see what perks you do get while supporting the channel. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.